Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to LinkedIn Tuesdays. We're glad you're with us today. It is April 5th, 2022. For those people on Zoom, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please just enter those questions into the Zoom chat window. For those watching on Facebook, thank you for joining us today. Please just enter your questions into the comment field. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording, and you're welcome to put your contact information in the Zoom chat window so that you can network with everybody else who's on the call today. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org. a website to help those who are unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I started a second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group's been around since the late 1990s, and I'll tell you about our upcoming program that we're going to have this Friday at the end of this session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team. You've got to remember that your resume and your LinkedIn profile isn't going to get you a job. It only gets you a phone call. When you get that phone call, how well do you practice your interviewing skills? That's what's going to get you the job. Well, we have 4 outstanding speakers who talk about LinkedIn. They rotate through once a month. Every week, we've got a different speaker rotating through on a monthly basis. Our speaker today is Locke Alderson. He's a career consultant and recruiting consultant. He's been doing this for many, many years. I won't put a number on it, but just many, many is good enough for everybody. And he's going to talk about how to use LinkedIn for job hunting, strategies to get results. So Locke, thank you for being with us, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Jeff. Have you shared your screen for me?
Hold on. It's Monday. I'm out of practice. Hold on. Here we go. And now you should be able to do it.
I'm viewing Jeff's screen.
Yeah, just say that you want to override that one. Nope, you don't want to take real control of my screen. Here, I'll stop sharing, and then now you can go ahead and try to share. There we go.
As Jeff mentioned, my name is Locke Alderson. I've been doing this for a few years. I'll try and figure out how to get the screen back. There we go. And why do we want to talk about LinkedIn? Well, there's my bio up there. If you see, did recruiting for off and on for 42 years. I had my own, part of that was 12 years owning my own recruiting firm. And I have almost 21 years in career consulting and placement. Started that in 2001 while I was still working full time. Got picked up by Mullen International in 2013 when they said, you've been doing this as a volunteer for 11 years. Would you like to try it on contract? And that 90-day contract lasted for 4 years and 90 days before Mullen sold out to Lee Heck Harrison, and I was picked up by Lee Heck Harrison a month later, and finally retired in end of December of 2019. But LinkedIn is one of the primary things we want to talk about today. The different things are, why do we want to use LinkedIn? Looking at your profile, how do you optimize your profile? And Ruth Lipsky does an excellent job on optimizing the whole program on that. How to recruiter search. And Kurt Vandemotter talks about that, but I want to pick up some things from Kurt and from Jeff. Jeff did a presentation a couple of weeks ago, and I picked up, I won't say I purloined or stole, but I picked up a couple of items from him to include today. And then how do you go about searching for jobs? And then finally, some homework for you to do. Let's talk about LinkedIn. Why does LinkedIn? Well, LinkedIn got started about 20 years ago as a networking service for marketing and sales professionals. Well, recruiters quickly latched onto that because it was people talking to people about their backgrounds and sharing information. So LinkedIn is now the #1 recruiting tool used by recruiters and hiring managers to find people. First section we want to talk about is your profile, your headline, your analytics, which used to be called your dashboard. It's your activity on LinkedIn. Your about section, which used to be called the summary. LinkedIn continues to update. Are you open to work, which is something they added about a year and a half ago. Your experience section, which is your work history, your professional experience, your skills and endorsements, and then optimizing your profile. That's kind of where we want to go today. Again, LinkedIn has been a very useful tool for job hunters. One job hunter said LinkedIn has been an irreplaceable tool in my job search. The ability to show employers the exact experience and skills that I have on my profile is ultimately what landed me the job. So it all starts with your profile. You can look at mine and see that, because your profile is a vital part of getting found. Again, that's the first thing the recruiters or hiring managers see. They usually give it about 6 to 10 seconds, just like they do for your resume. So what's on that screen is what's going to encourage them to go more and to click through and see show more. Again, there's that on these. You notice the background photo and my headline, my headshot, if you will. Again, you want to have a professional headshot. You don't want one that's you want one that's looking like you're looking for a job, dressed like you would do that. Don't have to be a suit and tie. It could be a shirt and tie like I have there. For ladies, it'd be something that looks very professional, like you're looking for a job. Again, the headline is right here, your connections, and you're open to work. I've opened that here on this particular one, although I haven't opened it to everybody. This is just for recruiters. So the banner from about 5 o'clock around to 9 o'clock doesn't show up on this. But that's what you want to take a look at. Again, the next thing is you want to edit your URL. If you haven't edited, your URL is shown right here. If you click on edit your public URL, again, it will come up with, if you haven't changed it, with your name and probably 8 to 10 letters and characters after that. Well, you can use that as a piece of advertising, like Locke, Alderson, MBA, or if you're John Smith, you might want to put John Smith, Dallas, Texas. Dallas, Texas, again, could be something that you advertise and differentiate you. If you have a rather common name, and not common in the sense that you're common, but a name that's widely recognized out there, there are a lot of you. Again, as you start to enter that, you may get the X there that you can't use that. You want to keep continuing until you get the green check mark like that. And you want to complete your profile, because each profile has, each section of your profile has a value. Those values add up when a search is done in the algorithm. Those that have the highest scores in each section tend to rank toward the top of any search for a particular thing. And we'll show you about some searches a little bit later. The different things you want to have is complete your profile to get an all-star status. That's the top rating that you can get. Again, it used to be up to 95%. They'd show a percentage, but they've done away with that. Again, you want a professional headshot and a banner photo in the background. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. The headline should be the job title of the position you're applying for. If you don't enter anything into that, it's going to default to the last job title that you had in your about and your employment section. You may want to consider the open to work, which is underneath your headline. Again, if you're actively looking for a job, it's something I truly recommend that you do, because it allows you to add a few more job titles that get found when people do searches. The about section or your summary is an overview of your career. You want to use some keywords from your profession in that. You also want to show some of your accomplishments in that area. The contact information is vital. It should be in your contact information at the top, but it's also be in the first line of your about section. For those of you who haven't opened up your profile to everyone, you want it to be in the first line of your contact info, your about section, so recruiters can get hold of you, your phone number and your email address. There's nothing worse than having a profile on someone and not being able to get hold of them if you're a recruiter or hiring manager. The experience section should include your job title. And if you have an unusual job title like member of technical staff 3, you want to explain what that is in generally accepted terms that are used in industry or when you look for a job. You want a description of your duties and some of the results. That description shouldn't be a lengthy one, 3 or 4 lines max, and use some keywords from your profession. If you don't know what they are, you want to look at some job postings and see what they come up with. Skills from your profession and endorsement. I'm going to talk a little bit more about those. And the next thing is the education and awards that you've gotten. I looked at somebody's resume yesterday. I was helping a friend, recommended somebody to me, and their education awards are all lumped together in one area. Again, by breaking it out, it's easier to read and show what you've done to keep current in your profession. And then recommendations from your former coworkers and bosses. You want to solicit those if you can. Again, you want to set your privacy settings. Did I skip a section? No. Okay. Again, going into your search about that, and check and see who can see your profile, your email address. And if you have connections, you may want to change that so it's not open, because those show up and then recruiters will look at that and see other people who are your connections. They're going to be people like you with a similar background. You want to move the sliders up here, edit the visibility. Okay, sorry about that. Move the slider so that people can see who's running paying. Your background photo, your headline, when people do a Google search or search on other services like Outlook, okay? That's what's going to show up in your settings. Okay, getting back to your headline in the 6 to 10 seconds that I mentioned, you notice a background photo here or a banner shot. I'm open to work in this one, and that banner shows up from about 5 o'clock around to about 9 o'clock. And you can see what it does there. It allows you to have additional titles that you can put there that are searchable titles, and those are the ones that you want. It also allows you to talk about if you're open to relocation, or you're looking for part-time work or full-time work, you're open to consulting, or you want to do those kinds of things. But it gives you some more information that are searchable terms when somebody does that. In this case, I've opened it up so it's open to all LinkedIn members. If I don't open that up, it's only shown to recruiters. For some of you who are still working, you may want to limit it to just recruiters who are doing that. Let's take a look at some headlines. These are some headlines that said, if you have a headline, you don't want to just put unemployed or retired. While those are probably true, again, they're not very positive about you. It doesn't give information. And that first section in your headline, think of a headline as the marquee of a movie. If the title of the movie isn't there, you're probably not going to go to that theater to see the movie. So that's what recruiters look at. And one of the key things that they want to look at, we want to spend a little bit more time on that today. So that's what it is. If you just use retired, this is a slide shot from somebody. And this had unemployed. And you can see how it is. That's not something I want to click through or connect with in those particular cases. Well, let's look at some other titles as we go along. Okay, this is a good one. I've got slipped out of these. I've done something to rearrange the slides, and I'm got them out of slot focus, so to speak. VP of Marketing, Global Marketing is good. You can improve it by adding more detail. Remember now that your headline section has 220 characters that you get to play with. So you can see with the difference between those two headlines. Project manager versus program manager specializes in international business and aerospace. More descriptive. Again, it's more limiting, but it tells the recruiter or hiring manager more specificity about who you are and what you're looking for. Customer service, director of customer relations. Again, helping the business and what they do. Let's take a look at some other things. Sorry about that. These are some other headlines that are there, and I have to rearrange that. These are short and succinct. They tell a story, but they don't tell a complete story. They're very concise. Formerly a VP of Finance, that's okay, but again, the formerly has some negative connotations. Again, you want to put a positive foot forward. Experienced digital design engineer seeking a new position, more descriptive of what the individual is looking for. Here's a better one, social media strategist and content manager, seeking a new opportunity with print and digital experience, public relations, marketing, and corporate communications. More descriptive of that person in corporate communications, marketing communications, and PR. Supply chain procurement and purchasing, again, is pretty short, but very descriptive for somebody with that kind of background. They might have also added logistics as well. And notice the pipe character between these two. That's an uppercase, that's a shift key above the enter key on your keyboard. If you use it, you want to leave a space on either side, because if you don't, supply chain or chain pipe procurement is not a searchable term and will not show up when a recruiter does a search. Senior accountant, general ledger. Again, I've used an acronym here, but that's readily known to people who recruit accountants and financial types, financial reporting. Accounts receivable, accounts payable could be AR, AP. But again, these are short just to get them on the screen to give you some examples. Executive assistant budgeting. Well, if you did a search for executive assistants in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, there are about 35,000 will show up with their profiles. Having worked with a number of executive assistants to try and find jobs when I was in career consulting. Budgeting and event planning gives a more descriptive details about the candidate and what they do. IT project manager, ITIL, which is a certification, Scrum and Agile, very descriptive for somebody in the IT field. Likewise, general manager, aerospace and manufacturing, pretty descriptive, even though it doesn't go into much detail. But let's take a look at my profile and how I'll take that back. This is something I picked up from Jeff in his presentation. You can use something called a headline title generator. Starting with an adjective, use the titles. Several titles can be that, and the value that you bring in some examples. Anybody who would like the whole slide deck, the presentation today, if you'll just send me an email at Locke Alderson, that's all one word, Locke, LOCKEALDERSON@gmail.com. Be happy to send you the slide deck. But let's take an application of that and take a look at my profile as I've changed it. This is one when I was still with Lee Heck Harrison, recruiting resource. You notice the different ways I've done that, okay? But let's take a look at using some of the headline generator, what you can do with that. Okay, accomplished recruiting consultant, successful executive recruiter, again, highly skilled technical and professional recruiter, contract recruiter, sought after speaker at workshops and seminars. Again, you can toot your own horn a little bit. Sometimes we're a little reticent to do that. Don't want to talk too much about us. But again, that's what people will see when they pull up your first screen, your headline. Again, let's move on down to your LinkedIn, your dashboard, and your featured section. That's now called an analytics section. Again, it has a couple things that you can see there. Who's looked at your profile in the last week? How many times have viewed a posting that you had in the search appearances that you've appeared in? You also have the option to, in a featured section, to post things in your feature section. I've got 3 of the presentations. Actually, there's about 7 of presentations that I have in there. I need to update this. This is from last fall, the 3 presentations I did last fall. But by clicking on the search appearances, what happens when you do that, this is what shows up. Keywords will show up of the searches that they've used. Again, that's how you get found. In my case, they may be looking for a recruiter for their company, or they may be looking for a recruiter for themselves to help them find a position. It also tends to show the companies where those searchers have worked. They may not have jobs open at the present time, but those may be companies that have openings for your kind of experience. Okay, let's move on down to talk about your summary in the About section. This is a particularly long one. Normally you want to have about 3 to 4 lines here and then a break and then something else. This particular one has used bold to highlight certain things, okay? They've also listed at the top their email address where they can get in touch with them. Make it easy, because otherwise I have to scroll down through that first 3 lines after the 3 lines to find you. And if we look at some profiles later this afternoon, we'll find that out. Again, when you've used an acronym like FP&A, which for people in the recruiting, for accounting and finance type people, they will understand that, but spell out that acronym the first time that you use it, okay? Because it makes a difference. Here's some other sample summaries. You can use first person. You can use that. I'm grateful to be a partner with world-class award-winning companies, okay? Key competencies, which is kind of a summary of your skills or areas of expertise. Relevant information, this is listed employers, okay? Here's another one. I'm a strategic, creative, hands-on marketer, okay? Again, those kinds of words tend to be a little bit on the soft skills side, and without justification later on in the profile, they may be fluff because they don't have substantiation. Recruiter's going to ask the question, well, where did you do this? If they don't find it, they may move on to the next profile. Let's move on down your profile to the experience section. Good idea for your experience section is to include your job title, the company names and dates, your duties and responsibilities. You want to, again, limit that to about 3 to 5 lines, and some bullet areas of expertise or accomplishment, the results of performing your duties. I happen to do this, and if your company is well known, the logos for some of those companies will appear automatically. The title that I had, the dates that I had, I was with Oracle Corporation, where I was located. There's 4 lines, I think, that's counting 4 lines there. about the job, but that was kind of a description of my duties, if you will, at Oracle. And then some highlights from when I did that, some accomplishments. You could see that. I also included an email from the former director of recruiting at Oracle when I left Oracle. She's sent a nice email out to me and to the other recruiters that she had working for her. And I've included that in there just as a statement of the work that I've done for the Oracle Corporation. But it includes the history. 94% of 90 to 95% of recruiters and hiring managers are going to look at that. They're going to thumb through that. And you want them to open up because, again, the first 3 lines are all what show on those things without clicking and show more. If you don't have a current position, if you're unemployed right now, you want to add something. This is one you can do that when you click on that blue pencil to add something. In this particular case, happen to choose the word, sorry about that. My touchscreen is very sensitive. A software applications engineer or developer, but you're looking for a full-time position. In the company area, you might specify the industry that you're looking at or a specific company. As I started to type in Dallas, DA, you notice the artificial intelligence gives me the chance to add Metroplex, Dallas County, or Dallas, Texas proper. Again, those are the kind of things that you add because you want to have a value for your current position, because current positions are one of those sections that it looks for when the algorithm on a search is run. Again, members, people who have an update position are more likely to have connection requests. They'll have more profile views and they have more messages that you want to talk about. As we move further down on your profile, the next section is your skills section. And again, that's a key one because that's one of the ones that recruiters search on. Again, if you don't, LinkedIn will allow you to choose 3. If you don't select them, it'll choose them for you. As you start to add skills, you can see up here, these are ones that you can check. If you start to add a skill, add another skill. If it's not one in LinkedIn's list of skills, okay, it won't allow you to add that. Another thing that LinkedIn has added recently is to taking a skills test in your career field. Some of those are kind of soft skills rather than hard skills in your area, like recruiting. There aren't a lot in the recruiting field to take that. But again, this happened to be one in terms of skills that I had for executive search, and I've been recommended, endorsed by more than 99 people, okay? But again, that's very important to have that in there. And if you don't choose 3 skills, LinkedIn will choose them for you. Again, this is the skills and we'll display them. Again, for me, it ranked executive search, consulting, and talent acquisition. I could change those over here, the description of theirs. When you do that, again, the way that you reorder these, and this is something that just changed on LinkedIn within the last 60 days. Again, holding your cursor over the dotted lines over there. If you depress your cursor, hold it down, you can drag and drop something down. Notice the 3 at the top are executive search, consulting, and talent acquisition, as opposed to recruiting or technical recruiting, human resources, professional services, or others that are there that you can drag. I have some 49 skills in my list. You can have up to 50, and you can order them in any way that you select. And I select that you want to choose the ones that you think are the most important and you're looking for a job. Now let's take a look at, you might want to ask your customer, well, why would I want to look at other people in terms of a search? Well, if you're not showing up in a search, if you were to put in recruiter up here, as you notice that, and type in Dallas-Fort Worth, there are about 26,000 recruiters in the Dallas-Fort Worth area when this search was run. It used to be that I'd show up in the first 2 or 3 screens on there when I was more active on LinkedIn as a recruiter. I now show up in about the 20th, maybe the 23rd screen. When you recognize that that's 230 resumes or 230 thumbnail profiles for a recruiter to get to, or somebody looking for you, if you're not showing up in the first 10 or 15 screens, you're probably not going to be looked at or considered for positions. So what you want to do is to go in and open up, say, Christina's profile and take a look at some of the words that she's got. Take a look at some of the others. What are some of the things that they have in their profile? And if you don't have them in yours, and if you've done those things, certainly add it to yours. And it will definitely increase your ranking when a search is run. Let's move on. We're looking for a job. And the areas they want to look at there are how does LinkedIn actually run searches? You need to know something about that. And then how do recruiters actually search? And then what are some results from the recruiter searches? And then how you go about searching for jobs. And that's like other things that you could do and then searching for people. Well, recruiter search, LinkedIn, as I mentioned, gives a value for every section in your profile. When those are added up or when an algorithm search is run, the sum of the values tends to add up. And if you rank high in each of the categories, you'll show up higher on the list where a search is run. First thing that's there is going to be keywords. Keywords are very, very important. Those are what show that you know what you do in your profession. Other areas is your skills. What have you done? An exact match of the job titles in your current position, your previous jobs, and in your headline. Some companies, specific companies that you may have worked for, or industries. Healthcare is noted for looking for people in healthcare. So again, when searches are run, even though you may have the background that they're looking for in HR or accounting or computer science, they tend to look for people with a background in healthcare. But you're open to work. Recruiters like low-hanging fruit. They like to be able to contact somebody and they have an interest in at least hearing about an opportunity. Again, one of the things I learned, first things I learned as a recruiter when I had my recruiting firm is to make 25 placements a year, you're probably going to make 5,000 calls a year. Again, 4,000 of those calls are probably going to be the answer, no, I'm not interested, no, I'm not looking. So what you're trying to do is to tell recruiters, yes, you are open, you're open at least to consider an opportunity, the low-hanging fruit. Geographic location is important because applicants have taught recruiters that they don't want to drive a long distance to a job. Now that doesn't apply to some jobs that are remote or working from home or some jobs where you're open to travel or open to relocation. But that's very important in terms of that. Also, the all-star status, as I mentioned, and having first and secondary connections on over 500 connections are things that show that you're active on LinkedIn. And how you comment on posts and articles and write articles is another factor that's entered into the equation when you look for jobs. Moving on, what do recruiters really search for? Again, mentioning the keywords, the job titles, and the open to work, the about and employment sections, the skills, the specific industries and companies, your educational background, your location, and your company. Some people look for specific companies. They're looking to steal from a competitor, and recruiters are open to that. Once they've narrowed down their search, they'll look at your summary and employment history. Well, let's take a look at some of those things. This is one of the screens, a summary screen for when a recruiter has done a search. You notice some of the total 19 candidates, engaged with a talent brand, have company connections, a past applicant. Okay, these are things that a recruiter shows up. They can do that, or they can actually run a Boolean search. But LinkedIn Recruiter, which is what this is from, is a paid software license to LinkedIn. They run about $10,000 for a seat for LinkedIn Recruiter. LinkedIn Recruiter Lite is about $5,000 a year. So it's expensive, but it's a very valuable tool. And as I said, it's the #1 tool that recruiters use. Recruiters even use it without having paid for the license for the seats. Again, they can look at the total number of candidates. Those are likely to respond. Those are open to career opportunities. Folks who have followed a company's page. So if you're following a company and the recruiter's looking for that, or the hiring manager, it's nice to know that you're interested in their company to start with. It makes for an easier sell from the recruiter standpoint about job opportunities. But this is a summary sheet from what a recruiter sees on LinkedIn Recruiter. Again, this is the data entry, one of about 4 screens of data entry for LinkedIn Recruiter. And you can see all the different things that they can enter in and how many years of experience they can do that, to do a search. They can sift through 850,000 members on LinkedIn and narrow that down to about 750, perhaps within 30 seconds. Well, let's take a look at a recruiter search. This was one for an accountant. You know, up here, they have failed to enter a location. I would not, as a recruiter, I wouldn't waste my time not entering the location, because he ended up with almost 43 4,300,000 candidates. Again, but that shows you that the total number of candidates. More likely, again, my touch screen is very sensitive. Open to new opportunities, okay? So those are the low-hanging fruit that recruiters are looking at. Let's take another recruiter view. This was for a product manager. Our senior product manager in the Seattle area was the first location. Okay, and they were open to some specific companies, some companies that have large workforces there, like Microsoft and Amazon. Fluke is another company up in the Seattle area. They make oscilloscopes, and they looked at the University of Washington. In this case, they had about 6,900 responses and have 2,500 of those have connections with a company being sought and are engaged with a company brand. They're very interested in your company. Let's take another look at another one. This is for a project manager in Chicago. Again, they consider somebody from Chicago, from San Francisco or New York. They're looking for somebody who had a background in business strategy and analytics, the other criteria that you have. Again, this one has a larger population, almost 43,000. Again, 83 of those were open to new opportunities. Those would probably be the ones that the recruiter is going to look at first. Okay. And company connections, engaged in a company brand. These are things that you can do to follow companies that you're interested in. Doing a search for yourself. It starts out with you can do it through the search box in general, but I suggest that you start out with the jobs tab up there at the top. You have two fields that you can enter, the search job with a job title or words. I've put in words like Korean speaking for someone, lady. I'm working with somebody with ESL background, and she speaks Korean, is bilingual. Again, and she was looking for a position here in the Plano area. We found about 15 jobs in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. The location, if you don't put a location in there, it will default to the United States. Okay. So again, when you run a search, you need to include those kind of things. But let's take a look at a search now. Specific search. This was for a senior accountant in Plano. The reason I did that was that's just an example of one. Then you notice when I ran that search, I limited the default setting is 25 miles. Again, because applicants have taught recruiters they don't want to drive more than about 25 miles to work. That's the default setting when recruiters say, okay, I won't look for candidates outside that limit. If you happen to live outside that limit, there are ways that you can get around that limitation. Again, and when you look for a job that you may be more willing to look. Again, in this case, was the date posted as one of those critical factors that's there. And we'll look at the filters over here, all filters in just a second. The job, the date posted. Again, you don't want to choose jobs that were posted fairly recently because you may have already found, as you find a job and you go back to look for it later, it's either been taken down or may get a notice that this job is no longer available. The promoted feature is somebody who is paid to have a job posted, okay? Because LinkedIn does pick up jobs from other places. Again, the description of this job over here is over on the right-hand side, and you can scroll down and look at the qualifications and see how you line up with that, okay? But in this particular search, there were 144 results from that particular search. Again, it shows up, again, because I'm a graduate of A&M, and that's one of my member organizations, that 5 alumni from A&M work there. Here are 6 alumni work there. Well, let's take a look at moving on to the next slide. Okay, one of the things that you can do is to set an alert. If you find a job that you're interested in, you can set an alert right up here. When you click at this radio button and move it to the left, you have the option of whether you want a daily snapshot of that job or just weekly. And you'll get an email usually in the morning before 8. And you can scroll through those. Even though I'm not looking for a job, I still get notices about recruiting positions, probably 2 or 3 per day that are looking for that. So look at those, maybe pass it along to some recruiting friends that I've got. But this is what it looks like when the alert is turned on. Let's look at filters for a minute. This happens to be an older slide on filters. Now, when you get filters, it's limited to about the right third of a page over here. But again, one of the things that I mentioned is to check that you want fairly recent jobs. You could check past 24 hours of the past week. If it's a very common job, again, I would choose the past week. If it's a job that's a little bit more rare, You might go and search for the past month. Something that LinkedIn has added is also salary parameters. You can try that as a screen. And again, that's something that they picked up from Indeed.com, who has that on theirs. Again, there's a feature over here called Easy Apply. Again, that's something I want to touch on. Again, you can apply with that. I would only use that if it allows you to upload a resume that's been tailored to the job specifications. Again, tailoring a resume to a job specification may be as simple as changing the title on your resume to the title of a job that's being recruited for, and adding a couple of significant accomplishments or results under your summary section. And so those are things that are shown in the first half of a page on your resume when it's loaded. Okay, you can look for different kinds of things. Our contract positions or full-time. Most positions are going to be full-time, but there are contract, temporary, internship kinds of positions, as well as volunteer positions. So some people may be looking for something to volunteer, and you can add volunteer experience on your resume, on your profile. That's a new area that LinkedIn has incorporated as a separate section, or you could include it in your employment section, as I've done with mine. Again, notice the locational choices there. If it was something in the Dallas area, this was Dallas County. Again, it doesn't list Plano, which is in Collin County. So if you were to list Dallas Metroplex, DFW Metroplex, it would include Collin County. Again, the company, you can search by companies as well. Of the jobs that were there, were a total of, I can't remember how many jobs on this one were 2,000, almost 2,100 jobs, 97 of them were with Deloitte. So if you were looking for a specific company, you can notice down here, those openings from that company or particular industry. But again, the filter section is very valuable. If you find that you've gone too far, eliminated too many, there's a section where you can go and clear. It takes you back to your original search that you started with. So you don't have to re-enter the search. Let's talk about using LinkedIn for networking. Again, networking is important because roughly 50%, anywhere from 40 to 80% of the jobs are going to be filled through people that you know or people that they know. And LinkedIn can be used for networking to expand your network so that people can do that. You can do that through the search box. You can search for recruiters, you can do a people search and so forth. Those are the different areas that you can use LinkedIn to find people. Again, and this was a search that somebody did using just my name, the first name. You notice I'm the first one that shows up there. I have an unusual name, so I show up at the top of the list. Here's a law firm, here's a hotel firm, here's an information technology and services company. This looks like an ad agency. Locker Room was a retail outlet. There's another law firm and a charity golf match. Okay, so those are different things. That's a way to search for people just in the original search box at the top of the page. Again, you can look for recruiters. Simply in the search box, you enter recruiter, engineering, Google, and it will list the different recruiters. Actually, there were 21,000 results, but those are the top ones that show up. So when you get that, you can click open the recruiter's name and look at their summary. When you message them, you can add the information. If you have a job title or a position number, you can include your resume. And looking at the recruiter and keyword, you can add a company and narrow down your search. Again, this is one for cybersecurity on the left. Again, you can find cybersecurity recruiters that way. Now, that's a way to find recruiters. And that's an easier way to get recognition of your resume, is to find somebody who's actually might look at your resume as opposed to sending it in through the applicant tracking system where it has a good chance of being eliminated. Searching for people, you could do it through a people search. Again, when you started, in this case, recruiter in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, over at the top of the page over here, there's a jobs tab, and when you look down, there's a people tab. When you click on that, it opens up this screen, and you can add connections like that, and you're looking for recruiters in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And you can do that. That's a way to find people, and again, recruiters in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Again, you can look at people in your own network. Again, this particular network person had 2,600 people in their connection. They can use the filters on that with using filters. And those are the filters that they can do. They can limit it by industry or by company. I'm looking for a talent acquisition or recruiter down here. That's another euphemism, another name for a recruiter today. And they were specifically looking for somebody at Lennox International. They could find a recruiter there. So that's a way to hone in your search and find something like that. And another way is to do a company search. Okay. In this case, we're looking for a company called Med Analytics, which is here in Richardson on Bush. By doing that, you can follow and go to people. There's a tab there that says people. By clicking on that, it shows that there are 510 people working for the company. And then the next screen is, again, the people in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. There are 129 people at the facility in Richardson. Again, where they live, this is the total from that group of people. Okay. I was looking for a recruiter. The recruiter at the Dallas location was Brianna Sham, and you can contact her that way. Another thing that you can do if you have a targeted company, you can go to the targeted company and actually create a job search for that particular company, their recently posted jobs. Okay. If you enter the title of the job it is, what they had at the time I looked, there were 6 job openings. Find one for you. So most companies have that. You can create a job search for just that company. So you don't have to go out and keep searching at a company. You can do that and they will alert you when the job search is created, just right down here. Okay, wrapping up, giving you some homework to take with you. You want to complete each section of your profile and use the name. The second area I'll mention is use the name that you want to be called by. I'm working with another candidate. He doesn't have the name that he identified himself with me when I talked to him on the phone. It's not on his resume. Okay, it's not on his LinkedIn profile. But that's what you want to do when you talk to somebody. When they call you, you want to have them ask for you by name. My full name is John Locke Alderson Jr. And I will frequently get calls for John Alderson. Again, I ask which one, and they say senior. And I say, well, my dad passed away a few years back. I'm junior. My son is John Alderson, John Locke Alderson III. So again, put the name that you want to be called by. The headline should be the job title or titles of the positions that you're looking for. Okay. And if you don't, as I said, include something in your headline, it's going to go back to the last job in your employment section. Complete the open to work section below your headline. It allows you to add 5 additional job titles and lets recruiters know that you're open to new opportunities. Again, do include your phone number and email address in the first line of your about section, because if we're not directly connected, okay, when we look at somebody's profile today, we may not be able to find out how to get hold of you. Okay, and put it at the top line, maybe buried down further in your profile in the about section in the middle or toward the end. I also included at the top. The more times that your contact information is there, the easier it is for somebody to reach out to you. If Jeff, I think we have Jeff going to talk to us about how he has his contact information in his banner headline, banner picture at the top. Okay. Do include, again, the employment section. Limit your duties to 3 or 4 lines and then include some results, some accomplishments, because they add credibility to your experience. Do include the keyword from your profession. Recruiters and hiring managers like to know that you know what you're doing in your profession. Okay. The skills from your profession are important too. Choose the top ones that support the job that you're looking for, and do a people search for yourself using your title and geographic area. There's a typo there. I'll have to correct that. If you don't show up on the first 10 screens, pop open the thumbnail sketches and see what descriptive words they use and include them in your profile. If anyone is interested in the LinkedIn, the slide presentation, it's lockealderson@gmail.com.
Locke, we've got a couple questions that have popped in. Let's see here. Oops, I just lost. Let's see. The first question came from Monica. What is your opinion on the new career break section that LinkedIn has added as an option?
Repeat the question.
What is your opinion on the new career break section that LinkedIn has added as an option? Something they only added in the last 30 days.
Well, it's something I'm not familiar with, so I can't answer that one. Okay, I'd explore it, see what's in it, ask the question why, what's its purpose? If it meets a purpose for you, then I'd consider adding it to your profile. Again, just like the volunteer section. Okay.
All right. Rosa on Facebook asked, is it worth upgrading to the paid LinkedIn premium service?
I do not. I would say if you're new to LinkedIn and don't have a very large connection network, it may be worth trying out. You can try it for 30 days free. Again, if you decide you don't want it, be sure and let LinkedIn know by day 28 that you want to cancel it because it asks for a credit card. I tried it for 28 days, decided it really didn't provide a lot of benefit for me. The major thing that it allows you to do is get the connection information on people on the second and third degree connections from you. Okay. It also allows you to send a few in-mails free. Okay.
Right. And one little hint, if you're going to try the free version, you may want to go buy like a Visa gift card or a MasterCard and give them that number, because I hear it's very difficult to stop LinkedIn from charging your account, where if you only have a $30 gift card or a $40 gift card from MasterCard, they can't continue to charge for you. So if you think you just want to try it out, that may be something you want to do. All right, let's see here. Another question. Richard says, easy apply. Is there a way to know if a resume can be tailored in advance before hitting the easy apply button?
Yes. You want to tailor your resume. As I said, the things that you may want to tailor to make it real easy to tailor your resume is to simply change the job title to the job title that you're looking at. Okay. That's the first thing.
But if you're going to use the easy apply button, is there an option to always make that modification on a resume?
Well, you're going to have to do it offline before you upload it. It won't allow you to upload it and do it online.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Rich. Yeah, the point is, I've spent time offline modifying a resume, and then if you hit the easy apply button, you don't always get the option of inserting the resume you just spent the time tailoring. So the question is there a way to kind of sort that out in advance of going down the easy apply button submission?
I don't know that there's any easy way to do it, but people I've known that have done it have not had problems including a resume that was customized.
All
Okay,
right.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, another question. Let's see here. Coy asked, how far back should one's LinkedIn profile cover?
Okay, just like resumes, go back, I would say at least 10 to 15 years. There's usually a break there of some natural description, whether you've been promoted or changed jobs at 15 years. Again, that's something that you want to do. Again, to include that, my particular one, I think my resume goes back to 1989, because that was a significant break. It was 10 years at E-Systems and Raytheon and 10 years at Oracle and Siebel. Again, on my LinkedIn profile, I go back a little bit further than that. Again, it doesn't hurt. You've got plenty of space in the About section to include all the additional data. You may want to just limit it to the company name, job title, and any specific accomplishment that you had. But generally 10 to 15 years is what's interested. It's really the relevant experience, but there may be something in your background that applies to that particular position, and it's in your resume maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago. So you want to have a way to be able to show that on your profile.
And I think once again, it's just like resumes. It's just your personal preference of what you want to do. Personally, I've gone and put everything back to when I got out of college, my first job out of college in 1981, only because I want to be able to go back and connect with those people who worked at the same company. And by putting those company dates, you can go search for other people who worked at that company at the same time. You never know, we're going to be able to go back and connect with people. The other option that I would recommend is you just create yourself a job that says prior relevant experience, and then you list the name of the company and your job title, just like you would on a resume. You don't have to put any dates or, because that way, and it moves it down to an older job. That way you can at least be able to talk about one of those jobs if it would come up in a job description. If you work for a major corporation, like you got out of college and you worked for Price Waterhouse or, Deloitte or somebody, you may want to be sure to include that, because it's like a name brand that people know. My daughter graduated from college. The first job she got out of school was with IBM. I mean, that's a blue blood school, a blue blood company that she may want to be able to use that she got hired right out of college by IBM, was there for 2.5 years, and use it as a promotional piece. So you really sort of have to decide what really is relevant and what's not relevant when you're going back. I lean on the fact I want to put a little bit more information than less information. Other people say, just tell them enough to whet their appetite so they'll call you up on the phone. Let's see here. Richard says, is there a way to look at a list of LinkedIn industry classifications? Locke, you're muted.
Not sure I understand the question.
So, Richard, do you want to?
Sure. Yeah, I'll pitch in. You showed along the line there, Locke, of being able to use your filters.
Right.
And one of those filters is industry classification.
Right.
So you have this world of people who have their own definitions of industry classifications. And then I think you have, what LinkedIn decides are industry classifications. And I don't see that they're very well aligned.
They may not be.
In certain areas. So
you may have to use alternative ones for your industry. Healthcare.
You just have to poke around a little bit.
You have to poke around. It does allow you on that filter screen to add a industry. If it's not one that's recognized by LinkedIn, it won't let you add it. But again, there are alternatives like recruiting. Now, one way that they talk about recruiting is talent acquisition. So that's another type of, and that's an industry in and of itself, but it's also a profession within companies. Recruiters work in companies, but they're also professional recruiting, professional talent acquisition companies. So
yeah, it was interesting last week when I was at the National Conference of Managed Care Professionals. The discussion came up many times as I'm working with people on their LinkedIn profile. Well, what area of expertise do they put down? Because it's sort of medical, but yet it could be a lot of project management. It could be, there really isn't a category of managed care, but a lot of these people are pharmacists. So they were really sort of torn that, well, if people search for me, they're not going to find me because of the restriction of the industry category. So once again, I think
one way that you can get around that is with your headline. You have 220 characters to play with. So you want to put your industry down like that. If you have alternate for the industry, if you have the different programs, if you're a project manager, if you were in healthcare, you're in hospitality, healthcare can also be medical professionals, okay? But you've worked on that, or pharmaceuticals, okay? Again, that's part of the healthcare industry. It's just, some cases it's separate, some cases it's a subset of one another. But list of different ones like that, and remember to, if you can use the pipe character, which is on the key above the shift key on your keyboard, okay, but leave a space on either side of it, so be searchable. Other questions? We've gotten them all, Jeff?
Let's see here. Matt has an interesting question, and he says, "Dear Jeff, what's interesting is that different speakers oftentimes make completely different recommendations." And he said, yeah, could Career DFW do a meta-analytics analyzation and take all these common important areas and show the percentage of speakers who say this, this, and this? Well, it's a lot like your resume. If you ask 10 people for their opinions on their resumes, you're going to get 15 or 20 different responses. And if you give it back to them a couple of weeks later, after you've made the changes that person wants, they're going to come up with some more changes that they think you need to make on your resume. So I think this, the whole career game is, you're listening to everybody's advice. You listen to all these speakers. You maybe take away a couple nuggets and you apply those couple nuggets in your job search. You have to feel comfortable with whatever it is you do, because you're representing you. We're not here to sell you on anything. We're not here helping you get a job. What we're doing is we're teaching you some skills, some career skills. Everybody has a little bit different of opinion. You listen to what they think and you do what you think is best and what works for you, because sometimes it works. And if it doesn't work for you, you may want to try to do something a little bit different. So, Matt, thank you for the suggestion. I'm not going to be
answer that question again. If what you're doing right now doesn't work, try some of the suggestions that I make. Try some of the suggestions that Ruth Lipsky makes. Try some of the suggestions that Kurt makes. Okay, try the suggestions. If they work, fine. I can only attest. The experience that I have is using LinkedIn as a recruiter, using LinkedIn as a career consultant, advising people on how to find jobs, and using LinkedIn to find jobs for me. So those are all the kinds of things. That's where my advice comes from. Again, Terry Sullivan uses LinkedIn for networking, which was how it was originally designed. Again, do some of the things that he has to say useful for you as a job hunter? Most certainly. Again, but some of those things are more applicable to somebody who's in marketing or sales, not necessarily for you as a job hunter.
Yeah, I remember years ago going to John McDormand's class on Monday night, and one of the session he would talk about is, you've got to feel comfortable doing what it is you want to do and how you're adapting and using the tools that people are suggesting, because there's no right or wrong way to do this. Think about it. When, I hear about people landing jobs, it's all different ways. Some people do find a job on Indeed.com. Some people do find a job on Monster or LinkedIn. A lot of people find jobs on LinkedIn. Some people find a job networking with somebody. They never put a resume out. It just happened to be that they talked to their neighbor and they happened to say what they were looking for. And it's just like, wait a second, I know somebody, and 2 weeks later, they're employed. So you never know what's the right or wrong thing. We all have different opinions. I try to bring, the best people who I know who can share their opinion and talk about things. I've been doing this for 13 years and bringing in different speakers, especially on Friday mornings. And I tell you, when I listen to the speaker on Friday morning, if it's a new speaker who I've never heard before, I rate them and decide, do they get to come back the next year? Do I get to invite them back because I like what they talk about, or I don't like what they talk about? So, I'm trying to offer everybody the best suggestions that are out there. Well, Locke, thank you very much for your time.
Again, I'll put in one more plug. Anybody that wants the slides, lockealderson@gmail.com. I'll be happy to send them to you.
Right. And there's a slide right there that I've created just for you to say that.
Why don't you talk about your banner photo, Jeff, one thing, and also the other thing that I'll mention is if you do send a request to people to link in with you, always use, the blue tab that says connect. And
right.
Always
I'll mention that in just a second here. So Locke was talking about my banner photo, and I don't have it up. I didn't call it up here, but if anybody, please go look at my profile. And if you're interested in building a banner photo of some sort, I've made it easy by putting my phone number and my email address actually in my banner photo. There's a program called canva.com, canva.com. It allows you to build a background photo. So just don't be using the generic background photo that LinkedIn provides. It's very, do something customized. Tell somebody who, make it interesting that somebody would want to pick up the phone and call you. All right. So if you want Locke's presentation, lockealderson@gmail.com, just let them know that you're looking for that. Next week, our speaker is Terry Sullivan. He's going to talk about how to tell your key contacts and prospects who you are, what you do, and how you can help. The session will not be recorded to view after the event. Terry doesn't allow his presentations to be recorded. So if you want to watch it, you do need to watch it live next Tuesday. And he talks fast, I tell you. All right, LinkedIn promise. Everybody, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Jeff Morris, promise to always send a personal note whenever I send a LinkedIn request to connect with anyone. This includes when I use my cell phone or my computer. Yes, on your cell phone, you can send a personal note. Click on when you want to connect with somebody, click on the little hamburger or more. It depends what it says, depending on Android or Apple version. And when you do that, up will come a new screen that says personalized invite. That way you can do it. So whenever you're looking on LinkedIn and you see a white connect button, you never want to click on a white connect button. When you do that, it sends a generic invitation. So when you see a white connect button, click on the person's face, open their profile, and then you'll see a blue connect button. When you see a blue connect button, you can always send a personal note. Career DFW, Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. I hope you'll join us later in this week for upcoming programming. Wednesday, the practice interview team, you'll be able to watch an actual practice interview conducted by the PIT crew. It's only going to be on Zoom. It will not be recorded to view after the event. So if you want to watch it live, grab your lunch and join us tomorrow at 1 o'clock. It does take about an hour and a half. It'll be like a 15-minute interview, a 10-minute or 15 minutes of feedback, and then open it up for anybody who's on the call to be able to jump in with their opinion. So you can watch an actual practice interview tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Thursday, being the first Thursday of the month, we'll talk about our resumes. It'll be a two-part session. Well, the part one will be best practices for an effective resume. And then part two, we will seek volunteers. If you'd like to share your current draft resume, we will be glad to review it online. I do recommend, if you do that, to please remove your header information so your personal phone number and email address won't be hanging out on Zoom and or on the YouTube channel and on Facebook for ever and ever. So you're welcome to submit your resume, and we'll talk about how to do that at the beginning of the session on Thursday. This Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group meeting, Rick Gillis will be with us. Rick comes out of the Houston area, and he's written a book called Accomplishments, Job Search, Advancement, and Fair Pay. This is a sort of a new thought that he's sort of come up with. The book has only recently come out. He's trying to sort of a new way to think about the job search and how you should be doing things. So join us, a very interesting presentation. Please come join us Friday morning at 9:30. If you'd like to join the Career DFW or Career USA LinkedIn groups, you're welcome to do so. The Career DFW LinkedIn group has over 13,600 members, a great way to expand your connections. Once you join that, you can directly connect with anybody in that group. So it's a great way if you need to try to reach out with somebody. I also will say that probably 1 out of 15 people who join the group are recruiters, because they're trying to find you, and they're doing this, joining a big group to be able to do that. So we're welcome to join. You don't have to live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to join the group. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. Please follow us on Facebook. When you do, every time we go live, you'll get your phone will say we're currently live broadcasting. If you follow us, if you subscribe to our Career USA YouTube channel, every time we post a new video, which this will be posted in a couple hours, you'll get a little alert, I think via email, saying that Career USA has a new video that you can go and watch. On the Career USA YouTube channel really is the best place to go back and watch these videos. Click on playlist, otherwise you'll see just a jumble mess of all the different videos that have been posted. There's over 300 of them. Click on playlist. Every video that I upload, I do put into a playlist. Pick the list you want: resume, interviewing, LinkedIn. And then don't click on the video, but click down below where it says view full playlist, where you see that red arrow, and then up will come a list with the most current video that's been uploaded on top. And you can go back and you can watch any of the videos you want at your leisure. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops and you'd like to join the Career USA mailing list, please send an email to Career USA, +subscribe@groups.io. When you do that, you will automatically then be subscribed. You'll never be spammed, but what you will get is the topic of the day, the title of the topic of the day, and most importantly, the Zoom link of the day. That way you can just click on the link and join us. Please remember, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have no full or part-time employees. Locke's a volunteer. All of our speakers are volunteers. None of us get paid to do this. I'm a volunteer. What I've done over the last 13 years has just been here to help you land your next great opportunity. Please consider making a donation. Thank you for joining us today, everybody. Have a great Tuesday, and hopefully we'll see you later in the week.